I don't believe
Right.
in coincidences. That's the one.
There you go. Don't believe in coincidences, man. It's all happening for a reason. Trust me.
Yeah. But
But yeah, so great introduction for sure. But it's crazy how that happens, though, man. You feel like, man, I should be able to get a job, right? I know I can get everybody else one.
right, right,
I dang sure can't get myself one. But
right.
hey, listen, I figured um if it's not happening for me, that's because it's not for me.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? As the songwriter said, what God has for me, it is for me.
right.
And so if it's not happening for me, that was not for me and it wasn't sent from God. If I'm fighting that hard, it ain't for me.
Yeah.
So and moving right along, man, I know in your podcast you've already openly discussed, your bouts with depression, but when officially did you like realize this wasn't just exhaustion, this was actually depression?
So actually, what happened was a lot of my things, my depression. So I was actually diagnosed in 2016 with
Mhm.
depression and anxiety. And so that was when my senior, last semester of college, or going into the last semester of college. And really, I actually had it as a child. I think it's I internalized a lot of things as a child, and I just kind of, and of course, I'm an only child, so a lot of times parents will say, "Well, we should just talk about it." But a lot of times, what people fail to realize, especially parents, any parent out there listening, your child doesn't want to tell you because they don't feel comfortable telling you that.
Mhm.
And so, a lot of times, a parent will think, "Well, they should talk to me. I'm open and I'm asked." It doesn't matter. They pay attention to the things that you say, you know what I mean, that you don't realize you just said. And you might have made fun of something that they're going through.
Yeah.
You might have heard the church mom, which I heard my mom say, and I'm sure other black kids, and heard their parents say, "Oh, anybody wants to commit, suicide, they're just selfish. That's just selfish, and you're going straight to hell." So why would
Mm-mm-mm.
I tell you that I'm struggling with that if you just was so strong about how bad it is? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Why would I feel comfortable telling you that? And
Yeah.
so it's like with the whole depression thing, and of course too, what are you depressed about? You don't have no bills to pay, and as crazy as it sounds,
Boy,
I had more depression as a child than I did as an adult with bills. And
man.
also with that too, growing up, and I made this joke, and I'm so serious. I told my homeboy the other day, I said the way the adults around me complained about being an adult, I said I wanted to be a Toys R Us kid forever. I remember being in fourth or fifth grade at lunch, and I can't wait to grow up. I can't wait to grow up. And I remember saying I want to be a kid forever. I
Mm.
said, and I remember making a joke like I said I wanted to be like Timmy Turner and wish I could be this age forever because the adults complained every other day.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, y'all got that. But I think that getting back to the question and
Mhm.
moving on, hopefully, I think that for me, when I was diagnosed 2016, I remember with the whole thoughts of suicide leading up to that point and then just depression. And I just remember waking up one day saying, I'm tired of feeling this way. And so when I hear people, when I say things about suicide and depression, sometimes I think people may think I'm saying it from a place of, oh, I read it on a piece of paper. It's like, no, I lived it. So I know what it feels like, but
Mhm.
you have to get tired of that feeling, and you usually do, and that's why sometimes people take it to the next other level. But for me, I was like, I have to do something about this, and thankfully, I was in school and therapy was free because therapy is expensive. But as I
Mhm.
say on my podcast a lot, a lot of times these jobs cover your therapy. It's in the benefits, and especially that
Mhm.
was 2016, so especially more of them do now. And a lot of these colleges cover it as well. So if you have it for free, even if you just always was curious about it, I say just go, just because why not? Because I've been to therapy 2 different times. I went in 2016 and I went again because of the job I worked at when I was a teacher in 2021.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, good take, man. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. When you said that about your mom saying, suicide is basically selfish, I was like, wait, what?
Mhm.
It's not so much selfish as it is nobody seems to be seeing them.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. Usually when somebody takes their own life, it's because they're not being seen. They're not being assisted. They're not being helped. And they feel like, well, what else? Well, you obviously don't care, so I might as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Usually that's the usual side of it. Yeah, you do have your, your one-offs. But it's like the most people I've encountered who've had these thoughts of suicidal and depression, man, listen, there's usually a statement that comes either before, whether it's written or verbally stated, that's talking about how somebody either does not love them, somebody does is not like looking out for them, they don't care about them. It's usually pointing about somebody else. And then they say, well, I might as well just end it all. Or they're getting ragged on at work, ragged on at home, like you mentioned. Like I felt the worst at home. Like some people don't understand that, especially as far as kids. You can say what you want. Oh, you don't pay no bills. What you got to worry about? I got a lot to worry about.
Yeah.
I got to grow up in this house with you. You know what I mean? I got a lot to worry about. I got to make sure I bring on the grades you want me to bring home. I got to make sure I make it as safely at school, because there might be a bully that's trying to, fight me.